Let's take a look at Ieshia Jiron. What kind of candidate is Ieshia Jiron going to be, okay? So Ieshia Jiron, she's in favor of the street repair tax. So I'm in favor of the street repair tax. Me and Ieshia Jiron are in tandem when it comes to spending a little bit of taxes in order to fixing our roads. So compared to the other tax measures, I'm not for sure if she's for the $315 million jail, if she's for the $18 million police plan, or the $36 million police plan. But she's definitely in favor of the street repair tax, the one valid question that I am in favor of. So that is a good thing about Ieshia Jiron. Another good thing about Ieshia Jiron is that she will protect the marijuana industry, so it'll stay legal, but I'm nervous about anything past that. There's only 8 business licenses. She was one of the people that was able to win one of those business licenses. So she's making a shit ton of money. There is no incentive for her to give out more business licenses. There's only an incentive for her to keep it the same. Horace Mann is the father of American education. Horace Mann is the father of the free common school movement. Before, there were no public schools whatsoever. That's socialized education, right? Like socialized golf courses, the Walking Stick, Elmwood golf courses. So we don't mind, subsidizing golf courses. But back in the day, back when there was no public schools, there was the conservative Whigs, and the conservative Whigs were against education. They were against public schools. They were against free common schools for everybody. The conservatives have always been against anything that has been good. Liberals got us Social Security. Liberals freed the slaves. Liberals got us integration. Liberals got us a lot of good things. Lots of good things. My God, anything that the Medicare, Medicaid, public schools and post offices and all the America was built by a bunch of liberals. For the school board candidates, if you're going to be a part of the school board member, you should know who founded the American school system. Horace Mann is the father of the American school system. He's a founding father. If it wasn't for Horace Mann, we wouldn't have all these free common schools all over the place. Universal education, like universal health care, universal education. This is socialized education, socialized pencils and books. So, a lot of conservatives back in the day were against it, but the way that Horace Mann was able to convince the conservatives was, do you want all these damn Americans, these unruly Americans, these heathens, these barbarians just run around like their heads chopped off? No, we live in a republic, we live in a democracy, so they need to understand how they are, what kind of individuals are we going to be? We're not subjects to a king. We're citizens. We're sovereign citizens. And so by teaching them how democracies work, then that would, teach them to be civilized. That 35% turnout rate, you're going to see a very low turnout rate because the D60 schools have failed. They don't have civics. They don't have any kind of democratic practices. Even the school board itself, Charlotte Macaluso is the tyrant. Everybody else needs to shut the fuck up and get in line. So Charlotte Macaluso is the tyrant, and she doesn't believe in democratic values or democratic practices. She only wants kiss asses, people that kiss her ass. That's the only kind of people that she wants around her. So there's no democracy in the school board. There's not, Dottie Calhoun hated it. When, Dottie Calhoun goes to the school board and they said, fuck off, you don't mean nothing. Well, she hated that tyranny. Dottie Calhoun also doesn't give a shit about anybody else's kids. She's going to waste everybody's time. She's going to force everybody's kids to go to school for 13 fucking years, make sure her kids get the leadership positions and maybe the jobs and the resources, and she doesn't care if our kids are successful, if they're good. Calhoun couldn't mention one educational theorist. So teachers, they have to have a theory of education, so all the teachers have an educational theorist in mind, B.F. Skinner and some others, and that's a behavioralist, that's an authoritarian of authoritarians, and that's Margaret Wright. But I asked Dottie Calhoun, should the school system, give our children wings? 13 years, so maybe, in kindergarten you tell them what to do, but by the time they're 18, they should be able to fly, right, Dottie Calhoun? Dottie says no. She says no. She says it's up to the parents. So you're going to waste my kids' time 13 fucking years going through that goddamn school, and when they're not prepared for society, you're going to blame the parents? Fuck you. Fuck you. That's the whole point of education, is to make them capable and ready for the world. If you didn't do that for 13 fucking years, you're not doing your damn job. So do not put Dottie Calhoun in there. Dottie Calhoun needs to know who Horace Mann is, so does Margaret Wright, and so does Dennis Mays. None of them. Another big educational theorist, John Dewey. John Dewey wrote on education and democracy. John Dewey is as American as apple pie. John Dewey was a leading educational theorist for decades, progressive education. So he believed in progressive education. He believed that democracy and education worked with each other. So Horowitz man wanted Americans to be able to live in America in our democratic republic practices. So he wanted Americans to become Americans. That's the point of getting the public school system, the free common school movement. And then you had John Dewey. John Dewey said, you know what, we can have both education and democracy at the same time. So if you don't know these two titans, these are huge titans. I mean, it's okay. I mean, you should know who Maria Montessori is. You should understand Sudbury, the perfect education. Sudbury Schools is the perfect freedom and democracy schools out there. It's a perfect one. And that's where I'm going to send my kids to, a freedom and democracy. Sanchez stole a leaf blower off a porch of an elderly couple in Bessemer, so look out for Carlos Sanchez. Johnny Ortiz is known to steal cell phones, so Johnny Ortiz and Carlos Sanchez are thieves. Watch out for them. Question 300. This is a constitutional argument against question 300. Home rule cities cannot delegate exclusive power. So the Constitution gives Pueblo City exclusive power to do this, that, and the other. But here it says under the 4-county Metro Capital Improvement District versus the Board of County Commissioners of 1962, when the people by constitutional provision have lodged exclusive power in a political subdivision of government, such as a home rule city, that power may be exercised only by the entity to which it was granted, and the home rule city cannot delegate the power elsewhere. So 300 is its own separate form of government. It's its own low turnout rate. Why did we only have one person run for water board? Why did we only have one person run for civil service commissioner? Why did the people of Pueblo City vote against Amendment 71 to kill initiatives? They're anti-democracy. They're anti-democracy. There's lots of conservative elements. If 300 wins, that whole thing was conservative, conservative, conservative. And if you're only pure conservative and you're not ever a liberal, that means you have no heart, and you've never had a heart. So 300, it's its own thing, so they're going to have some constitutional issues that they're going to run into. Horowitz, man, these school board educators, these school board members need to know educational theorists. The father, the Horowitz man, the whole point of education was to get them to understand civics and democracy and how they're supposed to, live in this society. But if you only have one person that's running for the superintendent or for the police chief or for the water board or for the civil service commission, another major problem with our democracy, 75% always get retained when it comes to the judges. So can you name one judge? But apparently you, Pueblo City, you love your judges. You retained all 7 of them, all the appeals judges, all the Supreme Court judges. You just, retain whoever the fuck they put in front of you. Hey, here's some guy. You want to retain him? Sure. Why the fuck not? Who cares? So that's also a failure of democracy. Amendment 71 passing is a failure of democracy. Having one person run for office is a failure. Having the school board the county D70, canceled their school board elections because nobody else ran. Nobody else ran against the incumbents. They got a 100% incumbency rate. So do they have that release exhaust valve? Do they have dissent? Do they believe in freedom of speech? Do they want people's input? Are you trying to tell me that D70, that school is just so goddamn amazing, and none of the parents in D70 wanted to have any kind of say-so on the school board? Is that what you're saying? Because I don't believe you. Diderot was speaking about Voltaire, and Diderot said this: other historians relate fact to inform us of facts. You relate them to excite in our hearts and minds an intense hatred of 1, lying, 2, ignorance, 3, hypocrisy, 4, superstition, and 5, tyranny. And the anger remains even after the memory of facts has disappeared. That's Diderot. So not only, he's not teaching just the facts, he's talking about Voltaire, right? So he doesn't just teach the facts, but he makes it to where you understand and you remember the feeling that you had against lying, ignorance, hypocrisy, superstition, and tyranny. Look at these tyrants. Look at these superstitious fucks. Look at these hypocritical, ignorant, lying motherfuckers. You should be pissed off about that. And you should learn history to see that these are bad things. When is lying ever a good thing? So I have a strong moral constitution. That's where a lot of my moral constitution comes from what Diderot said of Voltaire. He hates liars. Some trash pickup, then I would suggest go with Archuleta's Waste Services. Archuleta's Waste Services has a really nice person there. It seems like it's a small business. They're the cheapest out of all the trash collection companies in Pueblo City. Give them a call at 719-543-9156. $51 quarterly, so for every 3 months it's $51. There's a $10 startup fee and a $2 credit card fee, but $51 quarterly. Archuleta's Way Services. Give them a call. Neither an act of legislature, referred or unreferred, nor an initiated law can recall any power or privilege granted by the Constitution. That comes from the Fort Collins v. PUC case of 1921. So not an initiated law. You cannot fuck with the Constitution. Section 1-2 is constitutional, and the mayor, Big Strong Daddy, Big Daddy Strange, cannot be nullified by an initiated law. So an act of legislature, referred or unreferred, nor an initiated law can recall any power or privilege granted by the Constitution. The Constitution gives every home rule city 8 specific powers, and Colorado's Constitution specifically protects the charter of Pueblo City. It mentions Pueblo City's charter specifically, along with Grand Junction and Colorado Springs and Denver. So those are the 4 original charters. Our charter is as constitutional as fuck. So not only do we have the 8 express constitutional powers, and we have all the express powers that's within our charter, because it's guaranteed by the Constitution of Colorado, which means it's guaranteed by the Constitution of the United States. We have lots of constitutional standing here. We have lots of autonomy. That's the whole point of a home rule city, to get ourselves some autonomy. I believe she's a tyrant. I believe she's an oppressor and an exploiter. People say that she's super nice, but I sent her 21 questions, and she didn't respond. So she didn't say anything about Ricky Muniz. She didn't say anything about the goat heads. She didn't say anything about poor people, or actually she did say something about the homeless, which basically she doesn't give a shit. If she has this big-ass yacht and she sees homeless people trying to get up onto her yacht because she is filthy fucking rich, right? So Pueblo City has made Ieshia Jiron filthy fucking rich. Now that she's got some money, did she rise above the class, or is she rising with the class? She's rising above the class. Now that she's living on a yacht, you have homeless people who's out there drowning in the sea, and when she starts seeing the homeless people climb up on her yacht, well, she'll use violence and force to make sure they stay away from her. Will she actually, help them out? Will she actually get them anything? No, she won't. She's a capitalist. So she will win and monopolize everybody else. First heard about Ieshia Jiron, and I was like, oh my God, that's super exciting, right? She's a woman, and she's a marijuana business owner. How exciting, my God. We're going to have marijuana's going to be given out to everybody. She's going to be passing buds out to everybody. Nah, bullshit. She's only in it for herself and for her friends. She hasn't talked about expanding the marijuana licenses. We should have 1,000 marijuana licenses, or there shouldn't be any licenses at all. So we should have 1,000 licenses. We should definitely, get this marijuana industry going, get it jump-started. But Ieshia Jiron, I don't even see. Kevin Cover even actually talked about lowering the amount of licenses. Let's have less licenses. So I haven't heard anything about what she's saying with the licenses, just like the trash thing. She's like, well, this is a controversial issue, so I'm not going to wade into it. Oh, okay, we got trash all over the goddamn place, but don't say a fucking word about it. Do you believe in waste to electricity? Oh, yeah, that's not controversial. Do you want to turn our shit that you flush down the toilet into electricity, or do you want to waste it and throw it in? Pretty much seems like, it's a corporation, right? She gains power. She's a big corporation. Now, big corporation and government is one. So she will definitely use the government to make sure that her business is protected. She'll have no crime, no issues whatsoever when it comes to her businesses. Who's going to get these licenses, right? She'll be in charge of giving out these licenses. Will she be extra harsh against her competitors? Of course she is. She's all about all these marijuana busts. Anybody that has more than, 19 plants or whatever it is, they keep busting people for just essentially, small businesses, entrepreneurs, and other things. So there's some criminals and cartels and shit. Shut that shit down, right? If you're a Cuban, you don't have a right to set up a business. But if you're an American, if you're a Coloradan, if you're a Puebloan, and you're setting up a marijuana business, Ieshia Jiron wants you to be shut down so she can keep on making money. She did it the right way. She had shit tons of money, and she applied, and so she got it. She's going to make sure everybody shares the wealth? I don't believe it. Her position on homelessness is fucking sickening. Pueblo City enriched her and made her money. Now she's above everybody else, and she doesn't give a goddamn about the homeless. So she represents corporatism. She is big business. Just like you have Bob Schilling. Bob Schilling is a real estate agent. So you're telling me when he's doing this city fucking government shit that he doesn't see cheap land here and there? He's a real estate agent. That's a conflict of interest. So is having a marijuana business. The city licenses the marijuana businesses. They made her rich and powerful, and now you want to give her some more power? She doesn't have a progressive agenda. She doesn't even have a platform whatsoever. She just bullshits about this and bullshits about that. I have no idea what we will get with an Ieshia Jiron. I have no idea what we will get. She's a corporatist. She's big manager, right, owns a corporation. So big business fusing with corporations is fascism. He defined fascism as corporatism. Mussolini did, and so did FDR. So FDR fought fascists. Mr. Mussolini was a fascist himself. So when it comes to corporatism, when it comes to Pedco, and then everybody's criticism of Pedco is so tepid. Only Josh Bruns is basically digging into it, and he's essentially saying, Jesus Christ, we got this $60 million fucking boondoggle, corporatist boondoggle bullshit. It's socialism for the rich. Pedco is socialism for the rich. She just tepidly, well, I'll investigate. I'm going to take a look. I'm going to take a good, strong look into Pedco. Oh, yeah, keep on, look real closely. Maybe you might find some money for your buddies and your friends and help them out. But since I don't have a personal relationship with her, I'm not going to be the one that benefits from her policies, and she doesn't have a progressive platform. I don't want anybody to actually help their friends out. I want people to help the entire city. You're a representative for the entire city, so you should act like it, and you should represent every single one of them. Protecting the marijuana industry, it's almost like a bygone question. It's over, right? We had that big referendum last year. They tried to shut it down with 2-3 fucking questions. So marijuana is actually good and legal here. It's just I was nervous at first because it was like, fuck. It's been legal for several years, and then Pueblo had another vote, so it was possible that they could have shut the damn thing down. Is there anybody else that would protect the marijuana industry? Are we just stuck with Ieshia Jiron to protect the marijuana industry? No, not at all. I mean, even Bob Schilling. Bob Schilling is basically, it's already here. Kevin Covert, right? Kevin Covert, that Republican conservative. He's sitting there saying that it's already here, so we got to protect it anyways. It's kind of a bullshit answer. Tommy Farrell said the same kind of answer. Well, the voters already decided. How about it's fucking moral? It's my goddamn body, and fuck you. You want to fucking try to tell me what I'm allowed to put in my body as if you give a shit. People who believe in the war on drugs do not give a shit about any, you got a joint, you deserve violence. This is going to show a little bit of my ignorance, but essentially I'm a voter. So, I'm trying to pay attention as much as I can, but when it comes to who's going to protect the marijuana industry, Charlotte Perez will protect the marijuana industry. Josh Bruns will protect the marijuana industry. I think Ed Brown and Bob Schilling have already shown that they're going to protect the marijuana industry. So definitely Charlotte Perez. I don't know what Latino's position is. Muniz, I don't know. Mark Aliff talked very highly about it, saying we might be the Napa Valley. So he was basically saying, look at all this grow. And I was like, do you think it could be a replacement industry? But he's actually kind of, shown some weaker support later on. So do we need Ieshia Jiron to protect the marijuana industry? We don't. There's other candidates that believe it, and it's here to stay. It's here to stay regardless because we've voted on it, 5 or 6 fucking times, and Pueblo wants marijuana. Marijuana's going to stay. It's already going to stay. We don't need Ieshia Jiron to protect it. Ieshia Jiron, quote, we've been stuck in the cycle of nothing changing since the 1980s, and it's time for new leaders and new ideas. I got lots of new ideas, and she doesn't want to hear them. I sent her 21 questions. She totally fucking ignored them because she doesn't give a shit about the voters of Pueblo City. She does not give a shit about she just wants a bunch of sycophants and people kissing her ass and then people believing her stupid-ass bullshit. So basically she's shitting all over Pueblo since the 1980s. Pueblo has sucked for 40 fucking years. Ieshia Jiron looks at Pueblo for 40 fucking years, and she's like, this place sucks. Really? You're a goddamn fucking millionaire running a marijuana business, and you say this place sucks? I think the change is good, and you've had a windfall. You're doing okay. She was a manager for 20 years at Target, and apparently a real estate agent too. So she's into real estate. So is she going to make sure she gets all that cheap land and passes it to her friends and the cheap buildings and the cheap licenses so her and her little circle are doing well? That's not good. Hatred and disgust for the homeless will still go strong. She hates the homeless. She has a visceral hatred for them. She hates them. Right? When you have a nice, pretty little business and you're making millions of fucking dollars, the homeless are fucking dirty. They haven't showered, and they're desperate. They're living on the street, and they're asking for change, and that's like, that's so annoying to her, right? That's so annoying. What she doesn't understand is that they're humans, and they're people, and they have, human needs. They're inflicted with the human condition. They need food, water, clothing, shelter, security, love, belonging, self-actualization, Maslow's hierarchy. They have just like every human out here, they got the same human needs as Ieshia Jiron. But Ieshia Jiron doesn't recognize that. She's better than them. She's better than everybody. So Ieshia Jiron, I don't see anything changing with Ieshia Jiron. What the hell is she going to change? What is she going to keep the same? There is no guarantees whatsoever with her. She wants to turn waste into electricity like how Grand Junction is doing it. Grand Junction. We should definitely look at Grand Junction, their waste-to-energy plant. When it comes to municipal Wi-Fi, we should look at Minneapolis, and we should look at Chattanooga. Chattanooga has a nice Wi-Fi, and so does Minneapolis. And then there's like 20 or 30 cities in Colorado. There's a ban. You're not allowed to have any Wi-Fi networks in the city because the goddamn state legislature sold us all out. So Big Telecom said that, nope, no cities can have Wi-Fi unless you vote for it. And so this is a huge ordeal. So Jason Muniz hasn't said jack shit about how he's going to get us some Wi-Fi. Hey, here's Wi-Fi. Just believe me. What's your fucking plan? Are you going to put it on the ballot? I bet you that's what he's going to do. He'll kick the can down the road, and then eventually he'll throw it on the ballot, and then maybe we'll get Wi-Fi, maybe we won't. He's got no plan. He has no platform. So just like Ieshia Jiron, she's got no plan or no platform. Jiron isn't against the police officers going after her competitors, so she doesn't mind shutting marijuana shops down. She doesn't mind shutting grows down, small business entrepreneurs, local Puebloans, Americans. She doesn't mind shutting your old shit down, right? She had the money. She got the license. She was one of the lucky winners. She's a lotto winner, and so she gets to have all the money and all the power, and fuck you, Pueblo City. She's not going to help you. She's not going to help anybody. Is she even against the war on drugs? I can't even tell you if she's against the war on drugs. She's for shutting marijuana, small little grows. You're allowed to have 18 plants, and they're shutting people down that have, 30 plants and so. So she's in favor of this shit. She's in favor of a war on marijuana still. So I don't even know if she'll protect the marijuana industry. Frankly, she'll protect it as far as her profits are concerned. She'll protect her own business. But will she protect the industry itself? I don't think she will. Is she for Nixon? Richard Milhouse Nixon in 1973 put a war on drugs out in order to go after the black people, in order to go after the activists. That's the whole point for the war on drugs, to add marijuana into the thing, to go after black people and to go after the activists. So you're in favor of the war on drugs. It started out on the very racist, instinct. So that's Nixon. Is she for the war on drugs? I bet you she is. She's for shutting marijuana down. She's for small business marijuana. She's for shutting small business marijuana shops down and grows, right, if they didn't do the license thing. But a free market is a free market. Several people said free market. I think Mark Aleph said it. Michael Stapleton said it. So free market means there is no licenses. We all can capitalize on this industry. Ieshia Jiron wants to capitalize it for herself and then everybody to kiss her fucking ass, and she'll pay you a paycheck as long as you're doing her goddamn fucking wage slave. Know enough about her. Is she for the war? Is she for the empire? Is she for drone striking children? Is she for minimum wage? Is she for worker-owned cooperatives? Is she a worker-owned cooperative, or is she got, a big fucking board and just a bunch of wealthy people? Is she a Democrat? Is she a Republican? Is she going to increase the turnout rate? Is she going to fix our democracy and make it better? Does she like Rick and Morty? Does she like South Park? What the fuck does she believe? I have no idea what the fuck she believes. Is she for Wi-Fi? How many licenses does she believe the city should give out? Is she against Kaepernick, Neil, and is she against freedom of speech for Colin and Kaepernick, but in favor of freedom of speech for the Nazis and the Confederates? Where does she stand on Colin Kaepernick? So there's lots of things. I just don't. She's a bullshitting politician, and she's stuck up, and she thinks she's better than everybody else. So I don't think she really believes in much of anything at all. She has like 4 issues. So she's in favor of the street repair tax. Good for her. Time she might have been a progressive, she might have been a Democrat, but now that she's a big multi-millionaire, right, this filthy rich marijuana business owner, she's a right-wing conservative. She's going to be in favor of big business. And so that's why the street repair tax is actually that much more interesting, because being that she's a big business, she doesn't mind paying a little bit of taxes in order to fix the streets. So she actually, even though I think that everything else she is about conservative, but there's some people that say, oh, I'm against the street repair tax because businesses. Oh, okay, so you're trying to protect the businesses, but you don't mind jacking up our taxes for police and jail, right? Some assholes want to raise our taxes for more police and more jail, but not for street repair tax. No, no, no. And I think that when it comes to the ballot question, you could look at the question itself and then say whether or not yes or no. But I think the people that put the question on the ballot, there's politics behind the question. So the street repair tax is Ray Aguilera, and then I have a bunch of questions. She didn't answer any of my questions, and then she says, I'm willing to listen if you have solutions to problems. So real bitchy, real fucking bitchy right out of the fucking gate, right? So the problem I got with that, so, yes, I want solutions to problems, but she doesn't recognize the problems as I do. There's a homelessness problem, which means they need homes. Ieshia Jiron isn't talking about getting homes. Joshua Bruns is talking about a contour crafting machine, and he's talking about building homes for the people that don't have homes. And he's also talking about eminent domain and the current empty, vacant houses that we have in order to house the homeless. So there's some people that actually want to solve homelessness at the root. Not just so big business can pretend that there's no homeless people here, not just sweep them off to the side so that way they can get the, moneyed customers. If those homeless people could get a nice house and a nice little job, then they can be a paying customer. So instead of begging on the street, if you actually want to solve homelessness at its root, Ieshia Jiron. Fortunately, we got 1,000 homeless children who live in Pueblo City. 1,000 kids are homeless. And Taylor Voss said, well, they're really couch surfing. Well, that's still homeless, okay? They don't have one desk, one bed, one kitchen, one refrigerator, so they have no security. They have no security at any moment. There's always eyes on top of them, and, no privacy, so nothing. How can they build themselves up? How can they build any kind of institutions? How can they get their homework done? They're couch surfing. Is there a table? Is there even a dining room table? Are there any books in these homes? So that's 1,000 homeless children. They need homes too. But she'll just sweep them out into the desert, right? She doesn't give a shit. Her solution to homelessness is more fascism. So hit them over the head, get ourselves in jail, and just fill this jail up with all the homeless people. So you didn't solve the problem, but I guess you did solve the problem, right? You still housed them, but you waited until they committed a crime before you gave a shit, before you gave a flying fuck. Solve their issues. Her issue, when she talked about the homeless, even though Mark Aleph had said some things and got booed for it, Ieshia Jiron should have got booed and probably would have if they hadn't been warned, because the way she talked about the homeless, she just didn't empathize with them like a psycho. It's like she pretends her shit doesn't stink, and I bet her shit stinks worse than everybody else's. So she doesn't speak about poverty. She doesn't care about the poor. She doesn't speak about the homeless, right? They can't give her any money for her marijuana. So she's against them. Just like all these other filthy, fucking rich, plutocratic, capitalistic assholes. They get all the money, and now they want to monopolize, so they take everybody's money. So 8 business license. How many more licenses do you think Ieshia Jiron is actually going to offer to the public? There should be 1,000 licenses. She's in favor of the strong mayor. And what the fuck? Okay, so this is big. So Ieshia Jiron, she never read the charter. Like question 300. Question 300 is such a complicated boondoggle. There's so many different things. You got a grant committee, and then you got 10 neighborhood councils, and then you got this super advisory panel, and then you got this, these other programs, the people that's going to be doing the recreation programs, and then there's gyms, and then there's arts and music, and it's like, are you kidding? What the fuck is going on here? It's very complicated, dense. Read these things, okay? Unfortunately, I think people talk to the people instead of actually looking at the issues that they're putting forward. So they like the person, and they say, okay, person, I'll do what you want. So she is in favor of the strong mayor. Well, strong mayor is illegal. It goes against the Constitution. So that just teaches me and our charter. So it teaches me she doesn't know constitutional law. She hasn't read our charter. She hasn't read the 10-page document assigned to the strong mayor. So she doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. She has no idea. She's got no understanding of anything that she's talking about, but she has an opinion about it. She probably doesn't know the difference between a resolution and an ordinance. Do you know the difference, Ieshia Jiron, the difference between a resolution and an ordinance? Do you have any idea what you're doing? Do you have any clue? Do you have any idea what you're going to do when you get in there? I don't think she does. She has no platform, so she has no set of promises. There's no way that you could tell what any of these assholes are going to do. It's like, trust me, just trust me. No, I'm not going to fucking trust you. Write down a list of promises, and then, I'll vote based upon that platform. Based upon that list of promises. What are you going to do for Pueblo City? I'll look at the promises. If I like your platform, I'll vote for you. That's how I roll. Policy and implementation of that policy that's almost the entire game. Relationships and optics I only give a point for each and 4 points for policy and 4 points for implementation. So she's in favor of ballot question 2B. So she's in favor of taxes, right? More cops to beat up the homeless. $10,000 homes. A contour crafting machine can create $10,000 homes. How many 10,000 can go into a million? That's 6 zeros, 4 zeros. So that's 100 houses. For $1 million, if you have a contour crafting machine, which is $200,000, then you could build yourselves 100 houses. So she's in favor of this $18 million question of 2B, which is actually, if you look at the question itself, it says here, shall the city of published taxes be increased by up to $3.6 million annually, and by whatever amounts are raised annually thereafter for 5 years. So by whatever amounts, can we make up to $3.6 million and maybe make some more money later on? So that's an infinite tax, right? It's only a 5-year tax, they're saying, but it could be increased. Well, you know, they can make more money than what they actually need. So she's in favor of question 2B. That should tell you something, right? More fascism, more police, beat the shit out of the homeless. Now, let's look at $18 million. So you could build 100 houses for $1 million. So 18, that's 1,800 houses. You could solve the homelessness epidemic with that. Instead, what she's in favor is enforcing, giving somebody absolute power forever, because once you become a cop, then you have power till the day you're dead, right? It's almost, even if you shoot somebody, we have problems getting people off the force, even if they killed people, even if they murdered people. So she's in favor of elevating 24 new cops, paying for their health insurance, paying for their pensions, paying for every bit of things, their cars, their weapons, you know, paying for their entire livelihood for 5 fucking years. Well, you could have done that with the homelessness. For $18 million, we could have got 5 contour crafting machines for $1 million, and then 17 times 100, 1,700 houses. Nearly 2,000 new houses would have solved the homelessness problem, and then it solves it. It fucking solves it. And so that actually is attacking the problem at the root. She doesn't want to attack the problem at the root. She'd rather waste money just to use more fascist violence upon the poor. So being an executive, she's used to talking down to people. She's used to everybody bowing down to her. So I don't think she'll be good as a legislature. You have to work well with others. You're only one of 7 other people. And then if you're smart, you should elevate yourself to president as soon as possible. The president of the city council is the chair of city council, and if you have more of a say-so, if you're the president, if you're the chair, then you can do more for the people. So if I believe you're a progressive, I want you to be as powerful as possible. But I am not convinced that she's a progressive at all. You know, she's going to run the homeless out of town. She definitely won't give them business license, right? She definitely isn't going to give them any opportunities whatsoever. Ieshia Jiron will not help the poor and the homeless get shelter, food, water, clothing, nor jobs. So she doesn't really give a shit about jobs. That's what she's saying, jobs, jobs, jobs. That's bullshit. Her interest isn't in the world or Pueblo City as a whole or in humanity, but just in herself and only herself. And she's filthy fucking rich, you know. She wants the police busting all of her competitors. And is she going to give any more licenses out? Probably not. There's only 8 licenses now. She might say, yeah, we'll give them some more, but then change her fucking mind when she gets in there. So I don't believe her. I don't think that she'll expand the industry. I think it'll just go to her friends. She wants a monopoly on the marijuana trade because that's what capitalists want. She might even cut the licenses down to 4. So then that way she'll be able to smother everybody else out, and then she'll get all the damn money. So we need to protect jobs and attract new ones. That's what she says, but I don't believe her. An illuminating quote. This is Ieshia Jiron. We need to really look at the budget and make some hard choices so we can properly fund our police, fire, schools, code enforcement, and parks department. So does she think city council finances the schools? City council don't have jack shit to do with the schools. So she's like trying to sound smart and proper, right? We need to finance the police and the school, the code enforcement, the parks, and the schools. We need to make sure the schools get their money. Ieshia Jiron, you're not doing anything with the schools. That's the school board, and they got a bigger budget than city council. So the school board needs to take care of the school. That's their fucking purpose. That's the point. So her talking about schools, her being in favor of strong mayors, she doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. She hasn't read the charter. I bet you she doesn't even know the powers that city council has, which means she'll get fired over some technicality. There's some technicalities in there that could get you fired. So you need to read that damn charter. You need to read. Want to attract new jobs, but this whole idea of trying to get to these outside corporations, and, you know, there's people here. So let's develop ourselves. So it's not just about the homeless, but it's just about how you're going to treat the working class and middle classes here. So we're just going to, keep on kissing these Walmart fucking CEOs' asses and hope that they put a Walmart here so they can destroy, for every one job that Walmart employs, 2 jobs are destroyed. So is that what we're going to keep on doing? Making sure that these, that's Arkansas. You have... It's owned in Arkansas. The CEO, the headquarters of Walmart is in Arkansas. So all that money, all that wealth that's going into Walmart, yeah, some of it goes to their, minimum wage employees, but most of that wealth goes to Arkansas. So we're helping Arkansas out. We need to get headquarters here, corporate headquarters, and we need responsible, green, socially conscious corporations. And if we can't get Ieshia is part of the 1% or the top bracket now, so she's new money. This could have been a great opportunity for her to be extremely progressive, but she's running away from being a progressive whatsoever. She's absolutely wrong when it comes to the strong mayor, Big Daddy Strange. She hasn't read the charter. She hasn't read the 10-page document. She doesn't know that it's illegal. She doesn't know her powers as city council. She doesn't know what she's doing. She thinks that the schools are being financed by the city. She doesn't give a shit about the homeless, especially the 1,000 homeless kids in Pueblo City. She's just going to sweep them out into the desert. I don't think she'll actually protect the marijuana industry as a whole. I think she'll only protect the marijuana industry as far as her own personal interests are concerned. So that's overall what I think about her. She is in favor of the street repair tax. So instead of getting corporations, let's develop ourselves. Ieshia. So good for the street repair tax thing.